CDBG CV Application Categories. The application categories are distinguished by project type, including priority and non-priority types. The application contains a drop-down menu for selecting the project type, including public services, planning, demolition, general infrastructure, community facilities, economic development. There is also a button to indicate a non-priority activity. Various priority activities are included in the drop-downs. Within the drop-downs, you will find public services such as healthcare response, dependent care for healthcare professionals, community response, job training for healthcare response. Under community facilities, you will find facilities, facility activities, and facility infrastructure. Under general infrastructure, you will find hard infrastructure as well as broadband development infrastructure. Under economic development, you will find economic development industrial infrastructure, Missouri Rural Economic Opportunities Infrastructure Grant, job training, and industry hardship program. Under planning, you will find planning for COVID-19, broadband infrastructure planning, demolition, including residential demolition and commercial demolition. Non-priority activities are all other CDBG CV eligible activities, but are simply not included as a priority activity. First activity, public services. Public services includes the healthcare response, which may include providing testing, diagnosis, or other services at a fixed or mobile location. Increasing the capacity and availability of targeted health services for infectious disease response within health facilities, or providing equipment, supplies, and materials necessary to carry out this public service. Additionally, dependent care for healthcare professionals may include non-food costs of providing dependent care, whether that be child or dependent adult, paid to dependent care provider, not an individual beneficiary. The community response activity may include delivering food to quarantined individuals or perhaps individuals who are at risk for contracting COVID-19. Job training for healthcare response can include carrying out of job training to expand the pool of healthcare workers and technicians that are available to treat disease within the community. The typical national objective can be either LMI, whether that be by area, target area, census, survey, or limited clientele, the elimination of slum and blight, urgent need, or a combination of the above. Again, urgent need is only eligible if the project is initiated within 18 months of the expiration for COVID-19 disaster declaration, which was initiated March 13, 2020. Next category, community facilities. Community facilities includes the drop-down of facilities indicating senior centers, technical education facilities, training facilities, daycare centers, community centers, sheltered workshops or recycling facilities, youth centers, 911 emergency systems, rural health clinics, which is to say facilities without dedicated state funding only, telecommunications, and shared spaces for the purposes of business development, group homes, transitional housing, or special needs housing. Facility activities are eligible if they are designed to provide a service or group of services from one central location for a prescribed area of residents or users. Facility infrastructure is infrastructure that is necessary to support such facility. Applications may include the infrastructure necessary to support the facility in addition to the facility itself. Facilities must be owned by the local government or nonprofit agency, and it's the responsibility of the applicant to assure that nonprofit status of the entity seeking assistance. The applicant must be confident of the capacity, history, organizational structure, existence in the community, and reputation of their nonprofit. Applications for community facilities must provide evidence of the ability to operate and maintain the facility for the purpose intended. CDBG CV funds proposed for day-to-day operation of the facility are not eligible. General improvements or enhancements to buildings conducting government business are prohibited. Please also note prohibitions or restrictions relative to ADA. The typical national objective that is used includes LMI, elimination of slum and blight, urgent need, or a combination of the above. The facility and the community facility must establish its abilities to sustain their operations long after construction is complete. Additional requirements can be located within the application guidelines. Next category, general infrastructure. General infrastructure includes both hard infrastructure and broadband development. Hard infrastructure types can include bridge and related eligible activities, streets and related eligible activities, sidewalks and related eligible activities, drainage and related eligible activities. Those related eligible activities are very similar to what you see in traditional CDBG requirements and guidelines. Broadband development can be the development of tangible broadband assets as made eligible under CDBG guidelines, particularly relative to national objectives. General infrastructure. The typical national objective use can be LMI, the elimination of slum and blight, or a combination of the above. Please note, applicants that can substantiate a need or a series of needs and have a well-thought-out solution for the emphasis of economic impact, sustainability, local impact will be given consideration. All additional notations and guidance can be found in the application guidelines. Economic development. Economic development, industrial infrastructure can be found specifically on pages 4 through 6 of the application guidelines. It can include job training, and the grantee may request funds to subcontract with a qualified nonprofit or public entity to provide job training to persons who will be or are presently employed by a company, for-profit or nonprofit, as part of the prevention, preparation for, and response to COVID-19. The funds can be used only for instructors, materials, or related training aids and expenses thereof. At least 51% of the new jobs created or retained or beneficiaries of the training must be filled by LMI persons, and the uses must comply with public benefit standards outlined. Missouri Economic Opportunities Infrastructure Grant. Please note the definition of this activity in pages 4 through 6 of the application guidelines. Additionally, there's the development of the Industry Hardship Program. This is a grants program intended to avoid job loss. It must be administered through subgrantees to the hardest hit industries. That is, the local communities, counties, cities would be administering this grant program to hardest hit industries as measured by either local or regional industry unemployment rates or otherwise documented hardship for eligible unmet needs. Again, please refer to pages 4 through 6 of application guidelines for more information on this program. The typical national objective use would be LMI for job creation. Please do note that multiple CDBG CV funding tools have been used for this project, and all programs for job creation has been boosted to $85,000 per job. Typically, CDBG for job creation is around $20,000 per job. This is a marked change for CDBG CV applications. That said, CDBG CV funds are in fact subject to public benefit standards. As such, the project must provide documentation to support the following. The activity will create or retain at least one full-time equivalent permanent job per $85,000 of CDBG funds used, and one of the two following items. Either A, the activity will provide goods or services to residents of an area such that the number of LMI persons residing in that area served by the assisted business amounts to at least one LMI person per $1,700 of CDBG funds used, or the assistance was provided due to business disruption related to coronavirus, in which case no monetary standard applies because HUD has determined that there is sufficient public benefit derived from the provision of assistance to stabilize or sustain businesses in the grantee's jurisdiction, the state's jurisdiction, that suffered disruption due to coronavirus, and that facilitation of business assistance for this purpose may help to avoid complete economic collapse within that jurisdiction. All other existing economic development requirements are retained, including existing or established companies must have 3 or more years of financial history. However, $85,000 of benefit per new full-time job has been boosted from $20,000. Startup companies with a financial history of 3 years or less, and the maximum amount of CV award cannot exceed the lesser of $85,000 per job created or $500,000. Prevailing wage requirements are required on CDBG construction activities, and applicants must provide 15% cash or in-kind match. Planning for COVID-19. Planning for the purpose of preventing, preparing for, or responding to COVID-19 is an eligible priority activity. Broadband infrastructure planning. Planning for the purpose of expanding broadband access to eligible beneficiaries as a means of preventing, preparing for, or responding to COVID-19. The purpose of the planning category is to provide communities with the opportunity to solve problems that enable them to effectively respond to the future outbreaks of COVID-19. The outcome of a successful planning process will provide information and data that will be used for future additional planning or perhaps implementation efforts. Grant funds through units of local government may be used for planning activities in conjunction with an activity. Grant funds may also be used for the planning only as an activity, such as planning studies for broadband development. Demolition. Residential demolition can be found and defined on pages 7 through 8 of the application guidelines, as can additionally be defined in pages 7 through 8 of the application guidelines. Typical national objectives includes the elimination of swim and blight, as it is the only allowable national objective for the demolition project. The elimination of structures which is hazardous is the priority under this category.